Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy early start to this nice Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday. It's Tuesday, baby. We're almost at Christmas, so happy holidays. No, happy Christmas or Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Yeah, there we go. Anyways, a few things to discuss today as Bitcoin does initiate a little bit of volatility in the short and medium term timeframes. Wanted to follow up on yesterday's short term time frame analysis, looking for a bit of a balance towards 17,100. And other than that, let's just jump right on into it. So I want to start off today's analysis with a continuation of yesterday's short-term time frame analysis. We were looking at a likelihood of a bounce based off of the HPDR indicator, amongst other things as well, over here on the hourly time frame, somewhere around 17,000 to 17,100. Now, when we go over to CME, which is the chart that we've been following from yesterday, we can see very obviously that while it didn't necessarily happen exactly to plan, we do have a nice tick at 17,095 for the high of the day. So I'd say that, yes, indeed, I guess it did play out in this case, although obviously there was some downside displeasures in the interim. Of course, the invalidation for that was a closure below 16,550. And on CME, as you can see, well, it dipped below, but on a closing basis, still holds for now. So what does that mean? It means that the lights are not necessarily on, but they're not off. They're not off just yet. And fair enough. Maybe we do get a bit of a Santa rally right there. So cool. All right. So that's where we're at right now. I wanted to now go into some other interesting stuff, maybe help out a little bit of the Boolah-ish case, which would start over here with the Dixie chart. Dixie chart, we did get our balance that we were looking for coming into the end of last week. However, there does seem to be a nice rejection, and we do see hidden bearish divergence starting to form here. And that will be confirmed with any sort of a closure basically below yesterday's low, which is 104 spot. It's like 104 and 13 cents basically, which is currently below right now. So if it does close below there by the end of the day today, then we will have hidden bearish divergence and very likely do see a retest of last week's lows, which probably does help out the short-term case for Bitcoin. Maybe another test towards 17,000 plus. Within that regard. So going back to Bitcoin, going over the short-term time frame ranges over here on the full hour, we can see basically range highs coming in around the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement and range lows coming in still around the 0.618. Yeah, it is a little bit sloppy right here. This is intended for a daily, obviously, and we're looking at a full hour time frame. But ultimately, I would go as far to say that if we're looking for lights on, sorry, I can't. It is kind of funny, to be honest with you. The lights on or the lights off, bro. And I love all these messages that I get on my social medias now. It's like, Krown, I'm curious, are the lights on or off at this point? It makes me laugh every fucking time. Jesus Christ, man, there's some really funny motherfuckers in this community. Anyways, yes, I'd basically be saying the same thing as yesterday. Lights back on above 0.5 at minimum, which is that 17,100 number on a daily closing basis, and lights will be turned to the offside if Bitcoin does close below the 618 right here. Again, we're looking at a daily minimum 12 hour, preferably daily, because these are kind of big levels and big pivots in the grand scheme of things. Now, if Bitcoin does close above the top side of the range, I would be looking for continuation to last week's major breakdown point, which is actually anywhere between 17.3 to 17.5. And to the downside, well, the same sort of idea as before, basically. Anywhere below, again, on a closing basis, 16, let's just call it 16,600. We can round up there. It's completely fine, especially on a higher time from like a 12-hour daily. Very likely to see a move back down below 16,000 bucks, probably somewhere around like 15.8, tentatively speaking. Anyways, yes, so we've gone through that. I wanted to get into another HPDR setup over here. In this case, it's going to be a bit of a different strategy. This is going to be a short strategy rather than a long one, but we do observe another case where we do have a setup, in fact, on the 30-minute time frame. So being that it is a 30-minute time frame, this is not like gonna change the game. It's not gonna be like it's probably not gonna move above or below the lights out range highs or lows in this case. But yes, anyways, before I get carried away, so what are we seeing right here? Well, we see several closures above the top side of the blue 50% range highs starting for me in the Eastern European time zone in the early morning hours around 4, 5, 6 a.m. And so then that initiates a second question to be looking for closures above that region plus declining volatility reads. And we look at the moving average on the volatility for that, and that officially happens right here. So if it's still closing above the top side of the blue range highs in this case, which it is, then that would be a setup, so to speak. So I want to address one thing very quickly here before I move on. I've been getting a few messages about why some people's HPDR indicator does not align with what I'm looking at right here. It does. It's very difficult to decipher between the different color changes. So what you should probably do is you should change your colors in the not style, but yes, in the inputs over here, and change the range 1, change that to just something that's completely not blue, and then it'll be very visually apparent. But on my screen, I'm just used to it at this point because I've been looking at it for so long, so I prefer to keep it this way. Anyways, so yes, now once we have that set up, we can go and reference the quant data over here for the 30-minute time frame, which, let me just double check. Yep, this is the 30-minute time frame right here. And we can just scroll down the stats on this one. So with this particular setup, out of 50 iterations, 36 were winners. So what does that mean? It means that it has a 72% strike rate to play out in the way that I'm about to show with this setup. So we do have the setup in play. The average time taken on this setup is 10 hours on the win side versus just under 12 hours on average for the loss side. And there's going to be some variance there. But what's interesting is that on the win side, and again, this would be the win percentage. So this is what you expect for a return if this one does play out in your favor. In this case, a short, downside. On average, we've been looking at about 1.71%. And if we were to look at a first standard deviation range, it'd give us a range between about 0.75% all the way up to 2.5%. So there's some good variance in there. On the loss side, because obviously this is, not statistical certainty. I mean, it's 72%, which is good, but it's not like 100, obviously. We do see an average loss at 1.55%. So we could actually even generate ranges just based off of this. But, you can go through the first standard deviation again. And yeah, there's some outliers here and there to the upside and the downside. The upside actually had a much greater outlier in this case, 4.62%. Anyways, going back into the actual chart from that setup, let's just see where we would essentially be looking towards if it does play out to the downside on average. So I'll just do the average, keeping in mind that there is some variance, obviously. So 170 would put us where? 170 would put us like right around here, 16,550 actually. On the lower end, we have seen 75. 0.75%, which would basically put Bitcoin back down around the current short-term time frame range lows, somewhere around like 16,700 or so, which I do think would be a little bit more reasonable. On the other end, I do want to talk about the failure on this one as well, and we can actually go over what criteria would equate this one to a failure. It's actually pretty simple in this case. Basically, any sort of a closure above the current wick high on this current drive, which is 16,877 on Bybit right here, would do it. And if that does happen, well, we'd call this one a failure, and we'd be expecting, what is it? Yeah, 1.5%. Away from that entry. So in this case, we go boom, and okay, need to go a little bit higher, 150. Yeah, it would put Bitcoin back at $17,000, which actually does make a lot of sense with these ranges over here in mind. So you can still see that wouldn't really destroy the lights on or the lights out range, but it would get us, very, very close to it. So you can kind of look at that as a lead into, which we would expect, again, on average for this time taken, basically 10 hours. So 10 hours essentially puts us around US market open. Oh, what do you fucking know? Crazy how that works, right? So I do think that was rather interesting. Anyways, let's go back on over here and let's actually go and reference now the stochastic momentum, starting off with the higher term time frames, just see where the pivots are currently at. And the daily is pivoted on CME, not on spot, but on CME, which spot, by the way, is significantly lower. But on CME, it is currently pivoted at 18,050. So it is starting to come down now, but still, significantly above current price. So pressure is still down on the daily. 12-hour time frame is now all the way at the bottom end, basically, and will turn up above 17,300. So basically, the longer that Bitcoin naturally holds the lights out range lows on a 12-hour and daily closing basis, the more and more like this is just going to naturally turn back onto the upside. 6-hour time frame is already turning up, again, alongside volatility contracting, showing upside momentum as long as Bitcoin's above 16,420, great number. 4-hour time frame is going to be up as long as Bitcoin's above 16,550, basically. And hourly, my phone is like blowing up right now for whatever the fuck reason. And the hourly is going to be showing upside as long as Bitcoin's above 16,730. So you can see that short term, Bitcoin BULAs do have a bit of a chance here. But again, on a closing basis, very fucking important on that 618. The lights will turn out if that level is lost. If that level is lost, bro, you don't even want to know. You don't even want to know. For fuck's sake, very, very likely back down below $16,000. In fact, if you are on the lower term time frames, you can even say that first bounce kind of already played off. But I don't think that would be reasonable to assess. Anyways, and then yes, above $17,000, that's your first major warning flag. And yes, we have moved down that level yet again based off the current price action. That a reversal is in progress. So I do still think that there is some hopium here for the BULAs to push through, especially as we come closer and closer to Christmas, which a lot of the time heading into the end of the year, marks just kind of get to float up, and people get to feel good before the holidays, right? Anyways, I think we've gotten through just about everything I wanted to speak on. We could do maybe a small bonus over here. Keeping in mind where the weekly pivots are. By the way, the weekly pivot still holds at 15,830 for momentum on both spot and CME. So I am looking at this as, a good signal that Bitcoin probably does try at least another attempt at the upside here. And if you do see above $17,000, it's probably going to be good enough to call an actual reversal with moves back up to the mid and deep 17s, probably even 18 over time. So I think that's going to be it for me on this particular one. Short term, likely a pullback, statistically speaking. But after that, well, game on yet again. So I want to be wishing you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.